My ex hung the watch that I bought him on a tree branch and shot it with a rifle. My ex
all right,
said the preacher's
we're
daughter,
back.
she was just a good friend.
B-side.
B-side on Broadway today.
I always feel super cheesy whenever I like roll in here, like B-side.
I know.
It's like,
You don't have a choice. You just got to do it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. B-side
No
STL.
getting around it. Just be cheesy.
I can run right through it quickly. Need a better jingle.
They know you're cool.
Becky, Queen of Carpets, kind of.
Totally. And Becky was cool. I'm sorry.
Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to chase down the Frederick Roofing guy. Hole in my roof or a whole new roof.
All those jingles, they're still singing them 30 years later.
Like, are you kidding?
Ehrenberg.
Yeah, bingo. Right?
Yeah.
That's what we need. Yeah, I mean, you're the one with the silky voice. I've got that.
Yeah, I went into the wrong business.
Is he Southern or just stupid is what most people say when they hear my accent. Some combination of the two. We're rolling.
Can you hear the St. Louis accent?
I've heard it all.
Yeah.
I got a job at an Irish pub because they were like, well, you kind of sound Irish too. I'm like, nope.
Can do the leprechaun thing?
Yeah, no.
Nice.
I drink heavily.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, you're in.
Yeah.
You're part of the club. We're here for another episode. If you are listening in and you're not watching, go over to YouTube and watch. Pick up on some Southside art while you're at it here. We'll talk about that in a little bit with our guests here. You already read your dashboard. You know what we're going to be talking about today. But Anthony, I want to. What do you think of this one? Tune 2 cents.
I mean,
a little different.
Perfect as always.
This one, and I'm going to be talking about this fine young lady with our hosts here and get a little 2 cents on there.
Yeah.
Alexandra K is her name. And I'm just going to give you the crib notes. Pre-COVID, she was all over local Facebook in particular. In fact, almost exclusively. Yeah. Singing covers on her stairs, right?
What happened after COVID?
Well, she got lucky because she grinded.
Yeah.
And now she's cutting records and
That's
touring and Tim McGraw, I believe.
Yeah.
Saw her on a coffee making video, and long story short, he's like, "Why don't you come and open for me?"
Oh, no, that little no-name gig.
Yeah.
So, when the artist actually has the hustle and the business sense too, it's one of the problems is you end up losing them.
Well,
they fly away.
Yeah, and again, we're and this is going to be another one of those things. We talk about the underbelly, the theme, the moral, the story of our show is what is really going on in St. Louis.
Yep.
What is appealing, what works, where's your opportunity, etc.
Yep.
Alexandra K is one of those names that, whether you like country music or not, it really doesn't matter, because here's an individual that used her backyard, grinded, did it the right way, in a modern way.
Yeah.
And is now like, I got my tour bus.
Comes out of St. Louis and can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Did you ever see comedians in cars getting coffee?
I love that
Jerry
shit.
Seinfeld.
I love the simplicity of just people doing what they do every day.
Well, incredible show, but one of the things that he does so well is he picks the perfect car for the guest.
It's actually my dream.
He matches the car to the guest, and you really have that ability to match the B-side song to,
let's talk about
to
cars.
our venue. Yeah.
Let's talk about cars, though.
Like where we are.
Cars is like my secret passion.
Is it really?
And my wife and I have this conversation for years. We got married in 2001, so do the math. That'll tell you how long. And we've always talked about dream house, right? And my response is always, I don't care. How big's the garage?
How big is the garage?
I just want the cars. So
that's funny, because I for a living basically tell people don't let the garage pick your neighborhood, but that's you.
Oh, absolutely.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, no, it's all about the toys. Because in a house, I mean, let's be honest. What do you do in a house?
Well, and here you have room to have toys.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
In St. Louis. That's in St. Louis. Yeah.
Yeah, we were. Where were we the other day? Went on a hike, Klondike Park.
Yep.
Which is off in 94, right there by Augusta.
Yep.
Did that, and then we drove another 20 miles west down 94, crossed over the bridge, had probably one of the best St. Louis style pizzas I've had
That's a solid day.
in Washington, right?
Yep.
And then short little jaunt home, and
Yeah.
it's just easy.
It's easy. Yep. No, and when I was in DC, I hadn't had a garage in years. So, things like garages and dishwashers and,
Do you have a car dream?
space. What's
Do you have
that?
a car dream? Like, what's your ideal car? Do you care? Are cars to you utilitarian?
Yeah,
a member of the family or other?
The first thing I did when I got back here was bought a manual transmission because the cars in St. Louis do this crazy shit. They move. Like they actually can, you can go out onto a street and there's room to drive. So a manual transmission is ludicrous on the East and West Coast.
Funny story. I had a 6-speed S2000 when I lived in Chicago.
Best car there is.
And my left leg was 2 times the size of my right leg because of the clutch.
Because of the clutch. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's hard for me to find good to fit in them. So sports cars, kind of are smaller. So I had one of the old Saabs. And so
Saabs?
Saabs, yeah.
Isn't that
the Swedes are big guys, so big folks.
I'm a Volvo guy.
Yeah.
There's 2 camps.
Scandalous.
It's like Joya's versus, Adriana's.
You're not kidding.
Real quick, get caught up. Our last episode with Jairo and Olivia from Our Mind Flowers. Just like, another one of those stories that nobody would expect to be going on here.
Nope. You do not find them here. But people don't know. They are here. People don't know that those folks are here.
Yeah, completely relevant, massive social media presence, moving a completely niche, creative micro product that they're growing. And the moral of the story, like I'm not going to give it away, but here's the deal. Here's a guy from Miami. Here's a girl that grew up in St. Louis, but then went to Chicago, had a ton of opportunities. And Jairo from Miami was in New York and Europe and all over the place.
They were in LA.
Started
the shop in LA.
And in order for them to do what they wanted to do in a creative makerspace environment, they chose here. And are thriving.
Maplewood, Cherokee Street, the Makerspace on Del Mar, all those places were really a big part of them, them choosing to stay. So,
switch. Perfect transition. It's time.
Well done.
Because everybody watching it, you like that. Another one of those stories in St. Louis that is actually one of my favorite. It's going to be our guest story today, because me as a lover of all things music, and I'm genre agnostic.
You are.
I am.
Your equal opportunity genre.
Joining us today are really just 2 heavyweights in the country music scene here that are in the weeds, in the dirt, on the south side, bucking all the trends and have been for a number of years now. JB and Ryan Binkly. Man, Brink. I'm thinking of Brink's trucks, baby. You guys just load the money out of here, don't you?
Sure, you're right.
Binkly. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for the hospitality.
Yeah, we are. You're watching the video. Here's the deal. We are down here in the, what is the part 2 of HonkyTonk. You guys opened this a number of years ago, and we're going to get into a little bit of the background. But if you're watching, the secondary space is a venue space. Big room. One of those buildings that literally every single person in the metro area has driven past this building, looked at it from the overpass, and is like, that's a lot of graffiti. And now it's yours. And now we're recording here.
Yeah.
And come to the graffiti.
How's that make you feel, guys?
I love it. It's my kind of vibe. Everybody's like, whatever. So do us a favor. Let's put a little pin in the map, because the 2 of you are not originally from St. Louis. You're from the region. Talk a little bit about the who, what, why, how, when that resulted in the bar on the corner that is the country music go-to in the St. Louis area.
Yeah. I'll start with the first part of getting here and then hand it over to JB about the actual country music opening the honky tonk. But we grew up around the Lake of the Ozarks, just north of there. We used to say Jeff. We used to tell people we're from Jeff City, but then we're like, there's way more conversation to be had if you just say the Lake of the Ozarks.
Just say Ozarks,
just,
for sure.
Yeah, let's just go
Yeah,
south.
for sure.
20 minutes. We're like 20 minutes, but real small town. But we left it. We're 3 years difference in age. So 18 years old, went to Mizzou. Both of us went to Mizzou, graduated. But then after that, JB went to Nashville and had a friend out there. And that was, when was that? 2004 or 5?
2004.
2004.
Back when it was still small.
Yeah. And we talk about that. It's probably a weekly conversation that we had, because we don't get down there anymore. But not to jump too far ahead, but like that slice of life, what that was like. He was not a country fan. I was not a country music fan. To the extent of you're playing it all the time, that's all you listen to. But when you grow up where we grow up, middle of Missouri, you're very familiar with country music.
Yeah, but
and there's certain things that
by default,
it's
going to be everywhere.
And there's certain things that stick. I mean, we also remember, or I do remember, in like 92 or 93 was the huge country music boom that actually before that I felt like every country music station was AM radio. And at that point, Clear 99, 99.3, Clear 99, there might have been another one. It's like, why are we listening to country music? But it was Garth Brooks and George Strait and some of this shit that was like, they're telling you how popular country music is by saying this is a format that's going to FM radio. That was like 93 or whatever. And so you started to, and then, that was pushed. And honestly, it probably had a little dip at some point, but it never really slowed down. It just kind of trying to figure out how to remain
that's
popular.
That's super interesting to me. Like, I didn't know that about you guys. You were not country music fans growing up. Pseudo country. You were suburban country. What are you listening to as kids? Like, what's your
Pearl Jam?
Yeah.
grunge?
A lot of Pearl Jam. I mean, this was early mid 90s. You had a lot of hip hop that was coming, and
Guns N' Roses. Those types of.
What year did you graduate from high school?
I graduated in 97.
Okay.
in 2000.
Okay.
So, we were in the 80s, it was everything. It was
Yeah.
Michael Jackson to,
Prince.
yacht rock shit, and
Yeah.
whatever. And that's why I distinctly remember country music coming to FM, because before that, it was,
Yeah.
you've listened to old 80s and 70s country music. That's
Yeah.
not going to hit the FM radio. That's not going to move the dial.
No, and that was a really weird time for country music in general coming out of the 80s because, other than like 9 to 5, right? The one-off Dolly hit that's in a movie or whatever, you really did not have a ton of mainstream
Right.
presence.
Right. You had George Jones,
yeah.
which great voice,
Yeah.
classic country voice, but it still kind of felt like they were stuck in
felt
the 70s. Aged. It was aged, and there was a specific style that you had to do. And so anyways, when country music came along, it's also, you're a product in some ways of your environment. The reason we don't live there anymore is a lot of the stuff around. I mean, this is, class 2, 50 people in your graduating class.
Yeah.
At some point, you're like ready to go,
So
And so a lot of that's there too. It's like,
So when you guys start to exit out of your high school years, you're the first one to take off post-college. You're not a country fan by default, but you choose Nashville.
Yes.
So connect the dots there because it could have been Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, I was limited. I had my roommate in college for probably, he was my roommate. He was my roommate for about 3 years, but we lived across the hall from each other our freshman year in the dorm. And his name's Jeff, and he's a wonderful, wonderful person. And he told me, I was living in Columbia running the bar, and he's like, hey man, I got a house down here in Nashville. If you want to come down here and get out of Columbia, I got a place for you to sleep. And I thought, why not? Like I don't know any. I know 2 people in Nashville, him and his now wife.
So this is 2003,
This
4,
is
5.
2004,
Yeah.
5, somewhere around in there.
So this is before Nashville.
God,
Like
before the
Absolutely.
it was
boom.
still kind of normal.
yeah.
Yeah.
I say normal.
It was normal, and from my vantage point, it was charming.
Yeah.
I didn't like country music that much, and like I can kind of bridge the gap. There's a few artists that kind of always had that thread for me, particularly, and we share a lot of musical taste. And like Ryan Adams, with a few of his albums where he
Yeah.
had the harmonica, and you're like, that's country as shit. I mean,
like
it sounds
Come Pick
like
Me Up. I just
Yeah,
saw him
that stuff.
last week at the Hawthorne.
that stuff, and
Yeah.
it's like, and there's this thread of like, that stuff will be alternate, adult art alternative or singer songwriter.
Yeah.
But there's clearly this undertone.
So kind of like Ryan Adams, Jayhawks, or Wilco, and a lot of that was popping out. That was kind of more Americana,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah, it was kind of Americana.
Tupelo,
But like
boom.
your country music at that time, I mean, I don't even know what, you probably had like Keith Urban and early Kenny Chesney and shit that it just didn't, whatever,
Yeah.
like whatever. It just wasn't
It was
captivating.
It was missing the mark.
There was something off,
Yeah.
but regardless, when you, in Nashville, it was like you could go and it was a big, small town and you felt welcomed all the time. And a lot of that's the accents that y'all were talking about earlier. Like, there's a Southern accent everywhere you go here. This is kind of cool. The weather's always like, we always used to talk about, it's like 6 or 8 degrees warmer at all times.
Yep.
So, and it's just a very comfortable, cool drive to get there. And it was accessible. Like, you're talking about like where you lived and how short your
Yeah, I
commute
used
was.
to. So I lived in Sylvan Park with Jeff, which is on the other end of, Broadway goes to West End, and West End turns into White Bridge or something like that. I don't know. It's been so long since I lived there, but you turn right and you go to Sylvan Park, and you're literally maybe 6 minutes drive to downtown.
Yeah.
And then I moved out to Green Hills, which would be, if you said Green Hills would be maybe like living in Kirkwood here,
Yep.
as far as distance from downtown. I could get from my door to the basement of the bar that I ran for, maybe it was a less than 15-minute trip from door to door.
So,
And
what bar was that?
it was Paradise Park.
Okay, on Broadway, near Broadway.
Yeah, it was across the. It's what. What's the Garth Brooks bar now? Friends.
Friends in Low Places.
Yeah, it's that building.
There's an HBO special about rebuilding it, which is fascinating because they opened. You were the GM when it opened in 2006 or 7 or whatever that was.
So let me kind of just. I want to make sure and tie this storyline to the current.
Yeah.
You're not a huge country music fan. You go to Nashville. You go to work at this pub. This
Well,
bar.
I started out. I didn't go to work down. I didn't move to Nashville to work there. It just kind of fell into my lap.
Did you go there to party?
I went there to get away from everything I was
Something
comfortable with and used to.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I personally thought, clearly we've got a pretty strong family bond between me, my brother, and our siblings. And so I knew that with that and friends, it didn't matter how far away I was, to me, it was, hey, there's a reason for you to come down and get away type of thing. So it worked out well. I started working at Dell, selling computers in a call center. And it took me about maybe 3 months of doing that and being told that I had to act like I was getting ready to play in a state championship baseball game, and I'm really just selling computers. It was hooting and hollering, and I'm like, this is not what I moved down here for. I mean, I'm sitting in a cubicle the whole. I'm like, nah. So then I sat down there unemployed for a few months, and then at that time they were still building out the bar, and I probably had maybe 4 or 5 interviews with those guys. And I've spent the bulk of my life, when I say the bulk of my life, probably all of my working years minus maybe 6 or 7 in the restaurant world, bar or restaurant, doing everything from taking out the trash to hiring, firing people, and now, trying to pay the bills type of thing. So I was comfortable, and I've always been comfortable in that. And so I just told those guys that I'd never met before, I'm like, you can hire me, because if I'm here, you're not going to have to be here and you won't have to worry about it. Or you can hire somebody else and let me move on with this, because I can't come back for another interview. I'm telling you the same things over and over again. And thankfully they were understanding, and they just wanted to get a feel for me, because when you're turning the keys of whatever you're investing in into somebody you completely don't, or you don't know and have
terrifying.
nothing about, I mean, it's a big step. And so as I'm now in that position somewhat, I see things the same, a little bit different ways. But at the time I was just like, my God, come on, man. Like, what do you want me to do? You want me to name every beer? You want me to, like, I don't know what else you need here. And so
The gauntlet.
yeah. But
prove yourself.
yeah, but for me, it was, I've always enjoyed and appreciated music. I was familiar with country music. They played country music then.
Yeah.
Like the Come Pick Me Up, before Hootie, what's his name? Darius Rucker.
Yeah.
Before he redid Wagon Wheel, you heard Wagon
Old
Wheel all
Crow.
the time. Yeah, Old Crow Medicine Show. So
Yeah.
so there was that not your typical country stuff, but
Well, I remember going a handful of times to Nashville in the early 2000s. This is pre-kids, because my first was born in 05.
Yeah.
And I had been in Chicago for a long time, and there was a reason to go, because me as well, I was not a country music fan, but there was something about Nashville in those days that it was like, it was welcoming, right?
Definitely.
And it had a vibe to it. And going down, and most of the places, I don't even remember the names, they were playing old country. The guys who were in there, I mean, it was, Steel and Lap, and a fuck ton of songs that I had never heard.
Right. Roberts, Layla's, Legends.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to get on my soapbox for a second, but last time when I went to Nashville, I had a friend there working. He was working for Art Laffer down there. It was 08, 09, before the pop. And I wasn't a country music guy. I didn't particularly love it. But the people were so
There's a vibe.
unbelievable. They were so instantaneously. I still get Christmas cards and shit from a 4-day weekend. My friend who
What
had a
did you
job,
do?
he was staying on a mattress with a
happened
friend
that weekend?
He'd been
Did you
there-
frame
he'd
that
been there-
bar
He'd
tab?
been there 6 weeks. It was a long weekend. It was I think it was it was MLK weekend. I was there for 4 or 5 days.
Anthony, you're
and it was
welcome
just
back
like,
anytime.
But I remember thinking, my God, if St. Louis had the social piece.
Yeah.
Because the assets are here, but the social piece, and I was just like, every bar we went into, everywhere we went out, the apartment where we went, everyone was instantly friends, hanging
It's
out with
Southern
you.
hospitality
And I was
at its
like,
finest.
they have
So-
the hospitality thing down.
Absolutely.
Every one of them.
Absolutely.
And they
So-
will
so
try to
let's-
change your mind.
Let's
You know?
start.
Absolutely.
Let's start to bridge.
Yeah.
that to the 314. Maybe
could-
just some basic questions, like at what point did country music, maybe for you, JB, first, did you start to? I don't know if there's a I get it moment, or I'm into it now, or
so are you talking like from the relocation to St. Louis?
no? I'm talking about while you're still in Nashville, in a country music bar. Going down there with not a love affair for the genre.
It's repetition. It's endless hearing songs over and over until you start to appreciate them, whether
They
you want
beat
to
it
or not.
into you.
It's, honestly, it's
You're going to like this.
you guys were open at Paradise
You will learn.
12 hours at least, 15 hours a day,
Yeah, we opened at 11 a.m. and closed at 3 a.m.
and
7
live
days a
music
week.
the whole time, and people requesting songs. So, and this is, I can try to. I can kind of tie it all together with my experience. Like, he was there.
Well, you're
He
the
was
little brother
working.
going down to hang.
I was going down to hang.
Yeah.
And this was all new, and I didn't have any responsibility. Still don't. But I would show up and just take everything at face value, and I'm like, okay, I get to park in the basement of this bar. These buildings are all 100-some years old. They're beautiful. Downtown on Broadway.
Yeah.
And a quick caveat, we use this this ties in a little bit to what we do now too, or what we try to create, is when they first opened Paradise, those old bars across the street, the Fruit Basket. Tell them the Fruit Basket story.
So Paradise, the bar that they opened that I ran was in an old furniture store building, and it was directly across Broadway from the stage. So if you were standing right outside this, so it's like Legends, Tootsie's, Roberts, Layla's, Second Fiddle. Like I'm probably, whatever. And then the stage was right there.
Stage, yeah.
And all of those bars across there had people and were busy. And Benjamin was the owner. I guess it doesn't exist anymore, but he still owns the company that they've done a wonderful job. But he came to me one day and he goes, "I need you to pick up 4 fruit baskets." And I was like, "From where?" He's like, "Oh, wherever the place was. I don't remember."
Publix.
So yeah, Publix, something like that. So I was like, okay, and I come back and he's sitting in his office in the back of the bar, and I walked in there and I was like, "What do you want me to do with these?" He's like, "I want you to walk them across the street and I want you to put them on every single door of all the bars over there." And I'm like, "Why?" And he goes, "Because they told me that I wouldn't make it a year." because people would not cross the street from all of those places across Broadway to come to our honky tonk.
That's awesome.
And I was like, and it's like one of those things that has always stuck because there's just it's that drive, and to kind of tie it into over here. We got off of kind of where you were going with this, JB. I think I found the appreciation knowing that I'm from a town of 100 people. I moved here. I'm talking about when I was in Nashville. I was from a town of 100 people, lived in Columbia, Missouri, moved here, knew 2 people in here, and after about 5 or 6 months of working a lot at this bar, seeing all the people come in and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And seeing like it's my job, but they're coming in when they're not working to enjoy what's happening here. And so then I gained an appreciation for, as Anthony, you were talking about, the people, like the customer base. And we still have it here. The customer base for that, by and large, is very loyal. They're loyal to country music. They're loyal to places that they love. They're comfortable.
Consistent.
They're consistent, and I think that kind of, it may not have been the actual artist singing the song, because I heard so many different variations of this song by so many different people covering it. Chicken fries. I heard chicken fries I don't know how many times. And I still hear it. And I'm like, can we move on from this type of thing? Yeah, it's like, can we move on from this? So much that whenever I would hear the actual song on the radio, I'm like, who is this?
Right.
But then as I'm listening to the words, I'm like, oh, that's what this sounds like? Like, it's just so weird to me. But I think there's an appreciation for, like, I don't go to a lot of like rock clubs and things like that.
Yeah.
I also don't think that you go to rock clubs and have the ability to ask people a song that you want to hear, to request a song.
That is a weird nuance about country music.
And I think country music, but when you think about like the appreciation for me, really sat down with like, these guys can play. The guys that are playing in the band, maybe not always the singer, because there's,
yeah.
But the players in the bands, like, you're playing hundreds of songs and just like picking it up and without having an ounce of musical ability. It's impressive.
I mean, that is really the modern day country music quote rhythm section is just a constant flow of those players off of Broadway.
Yeah.
Because when you play, how many hours were you open a day? 12, 15 hours a day. Your chops are getting pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's get to the bridge. You're going down, you're hanging out. You guys are both kind of understanding, learning, immersing yourself into more of kind of the bar world as it related to country music.
Yep.
Obviously, you're at Mecca, Broadway. When does the conversation start percolating to consider a move and not only a move, but let's do this in St. Louis.
Yeah. So I was in St. Louis after people think I lived in Nashville because I went down there frequently. But I never did live there. I stayed long weekends. But I was in St. Louis in 2006. JB moved to St. Louis in 2011 because Nashville also will spit you up and chew you out. I mean, it's a lot, you know, a lot of CMA Fest or whatever the hell they call it, and it's just nonstops. And this was anyways. That was right before everything started blowing up. Nothing was on the rooftop at this point in time in Nashville, and now that's all you see. So there were changes that were happening that was just like, it's never stopped. You know, it started taking the steroid shot at that point in time, probably 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever. So anyways, in 11, JB moves to St. Louis, and that was probably when the seeds, we had conversations, no doubt about it. We had conversations in 2011, and most of it was centered around this experience that he had, being a GM, having the responsibility of running this club, and the intricacies of what a honky-tonk needs to be that most people don't need. It's sort of like a referee in a ball game. If you don't notice them, that's great.
Yeah.
It's that sort of stuff, like how you have your stage set up, how you have your sound, how accommodating you are, you know, how you schedule things. All those things are kind of, maybe it just seems simple. There's a little nuance there, but if you had the experience that he had, you knew how to do that. Also, so you got this concept and this experience, and then you have people that nonstop, oh my God, I love Nashville. Oh my God, I love Nashville. 6 words. Nonstop. You would hear it all the time, and we had conversations about this. How many times that you hear somebody and they say, you say the word Nashville, and they will cut you off with whatever you're saying. Oh my God, I love Nashville.
Yeah.
To where it's obvious they're not lying, and it's universal. People love this shit. And so you start marrying those two things, and we weren't, at that point in time, weren't in a position. We both had jobs, weren't in a position, but the groundwork started laying, you know, for that, because it's like, this could be something we could do.
Yep.
And it's nowhere to be found here.
Yep.
We are from, this ties back to the first question you asked, like, we're from the middle of the Missouri.
Yeah.
We know country music. It's not my fault I didn't like it. They didn't provide me something to like until Stapleton, actually probably before that, Jason Isbell, Sturgill Simpson, Chris Stapleton. This stuff kind of draws it into, okay, that's country, but it also says something.
Yeah.
The artists are talking about stuff like they're, and a lot of country, you don't get that. So that's probably the thing that we loved about music, is stuff that made you think and feel.
Well, the funny thing about the music that you're talking about, and a lot of that country was anti-Nashville.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
but it was too good for them to ignore, and there's still stuff like that.
but they all played the Ryman.
That's right.
You got to play the Ryman.
That's right. That's right.
So when was the aha moment? When was the, hey, late night, really bad idea,
I think
big bottle of bourbon?
I think we were in my, you may have a different memory of this, but I remember like walking through Lowe's or Home Depot or something and having the thought and conversation that there's no one else in St. Louis, because Nashville's a very small town and St. Louis was a small town. There's no one else in St. Louis that has the experience that you have, that JB has from Nashville, to execute this plan. Also, our age at the time and lack of responsibility as far as families and stuff, there was an opportunity there. And I think we both realized that, is like, if we're going to do this, this would be an ideal time to do this.
Yeah. The opening, it's the gap.
Yes, and it, you know, maybe it could have happened earlier, maybe it, you know, whatever, but that was the time to do it. And then we started looking for space. We started looking for places we think could do it. We're not sitting on a ton of money, so we also needed it to make sense, for us to be able to get in and get going as quickly as possible to execute what we wanted to execute, which was that model and, that Nashville model, which I think kind of randomly, that's not really there anymore. It's hard to find that model in Nashville. We get people to tell us that now at the Honky Tonk. They're like, or frankly, we'll get some bands that come in that don't really play a lot of country music because they're not required to, or it's not what is driving the bus in Nashville anymore. Right. And we kind of feel like, well, I'm kind of glad we're hanging on to that. I'm kind of glad, because if you look around, if you can't find it anywhere, you're going to stand out and you're going to elevate yourself. You're at least going to make yourself where people, if that's what they want, there's not very many places they can find it anymore.
Yeah. No, it's like, it's amazing because obviously I, growing up here and loving all, again, genre agnostic. I always wondered that. And after the break, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about site selection, concept, how are you going to go to market? Because we've talked about this a lot. St. Louis, 15 miles in any direction, you're in the farm field, yep. Right? It's a country music town.
Yep.
Right? But to your point, nobody had activated it. And radio had existed, was doing it.
Yeah.
And you guys are really first to market. So we're going to take a quick break, get some refills here at the garage down on the south side. When we come back, we're going to talk about day one, year one, initial reaction. We're going to talk about, starting to integrate into the radio scene. A lot of other. I got a ton of questions. I want to talk about, defining St. Louis and how it's reacting to everything you've done, because you guys still here, still doing it.
Yeah.
So gonna roll out here with a little Uncle Tupelo in honor of Uncle Tupelo, the Midwestern Americana. Anthony.
Hey,
good brother.
Let's do it.
Cold Bush beer on a Friday afternoon.
Oh, amazing. Is there anything better?
All right, JB and Ryan Binkly from the Honky Tonk. We're gonna be right back after this break. See ya. All right, we're back. Down here at the garage, next door to the Honky Tonk. It's a twofer down here with the Binkley brothers.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Two for one.
It's scalable. It's Nashville-esque. Do you like cozy and quiet? Do you like DJ? Do you like... As you go up the floors, you get options.
That's right.
And down here, it's as you go down the block, right?
4th Street. That's right.
Rolling us back in here. Got some fresh, cold refills rolling in.
Before we kick off, can I talk about where we are for a second? Because people often like to talk about, what do I do downtown? Where do I go downtown? I've got family visiting from out of town. What's to do downtown? And they're always going to know Wash Ave. They're going to know about Ballpark Village. All lovely, everybody. That's fine.
We're not saying anything bad about those.
Correct. Lovely, lovely places.
So explore STL if you're listening.
They're going to go to the Arch. They're going to know City Museum maybe. They're going to know 360 Bar, respect. But if you actually want something that is St. Louis and that is awesome, and you want your out of town, and a lot of those places I just mentioned, they could be anywhere, not the Arch, but this area, go downtown, and I want you to go south, just a little bit south, and then go to some of the St. Louis places. So, like, kind of where we are, where, what would they call this? The Blues Triangle.
Yeah, what is this?
They used to call before when there was Beale and
when people played and listened to blues music.
People used to have blues music, but like
we've dubbed it Music Corridor.
Music Corridor, yeah.
Music Corridor.
And it's local, and it's got the grit, and it's got the soul, and it's there's a couple places here, Broadway Boyster, open till 3. But you want to know kind of where to go and what to do, and you want to look like an insider. I'm telling you, this pocket of downtown is the move. So kind of on your way to Soulard.
And White Castle.
And you got the White Castle. When you get to the White Castle, stop. Go into any one of those places.
I see you rolling your eye. Like once a quarter, maybe
I've had White Castle maybe once in my life.
Oh, my goodness.
It doesn't move the needle for me.
Solid.
But there's an Emo's right down the street.
There you go.
We can do it all.
But anyway, this little pocket is, wins over. I don't think people really realize how this pocket of the city really wins over, particularly people coming from all over the world when they really want to capture the soul of St. Louis. Again, a lot of options in downtown proper, but just off of downtown, and I mean like a block from the stadium. Come to this corner of the universe, and that's my pro tip. Look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's address exactly that. You guys decide you're walking through Home Depot or Lowe's, and you're like, you know what, fuck it. I got no kids. I got no real responsibilities. I want to roll the dice. I'm going to call my brother. He's got all this experience. I want a honky. Was it I want a honky-tonk, or was it like I want a bar?
No, it was a honky-tonk. It was very specific.
Yeah.
So let's walk us through the process, and how did you land down here?
So we lived together for a lot of our lives, and we were living together at that time, and we were looking at a lot of different neighborhoods and places that were open or vacant or available to lease. And I think everything that we looked at was more like a setup for just a regular corner bar.
Yeah.
And first, I was working. I use that term very loosely, but I was at work, and my brother Ryan, had been. He'd been on the internet and driven around the city, and he found this little building at 756 South 4th Street that used to be a couple different bars. It was like 3 or 4 different bars within the last
10 years.
I don't know. Several years. So it had changed.
It had been an little Irish pub, right?
Irish pub.
Yeah.
It was
a biker bar?
Sort of a fine dining thing. I mean, it was
on
pretty
Bar
clear.
Rescue,
Yeah.
and so So, but it was for sale. The building was for sale, and the bar that was in the building was up for lease. The people that were running the bar or running whatever was in there were still open, but they were only going to be open until the building was sold, and then they were going to stop. And so he approached me and he said, "Hey, there's this place down here. You want to go look at it?" And I thought, sure. And when we walked in, I know there's a lot of people that have not been in that place. It would, in a perfect world, you would like to have a completely open concept to where you can just start building things how you want to build them.
Yeah, build in.
Yeah. But we did not have that luxury. It was basically that building is
1899.
1899 is when it was built.
Such a nightmare, but so awesome.
Yeah. So you kind of, like you're not changing
I'm
much.
sorry and thank you.
Yeah. You're not changing a whole lot.
Can't recreate that.
You have blood pump. You have a soul.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's
Good for you.
So one side of the
Money left. But good for you.
correct. One side of the building is the bar with a few tables, a few area, a little area where people can be. And we assumed that was the bar. And then on the opposite side, when you walk through the second building, that they've combined these two buildings at some point in time, the second half of the building, there were a bunch of tables like it was the fine dining thing. And it took about probably 45 seconds to a minute of walking into that room for him to look at me and say, "We should put a stage right there and get rid of every one of these tables."
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was about the point where we decided we had talked enough about the importance of offering country music to people here to where they did not have to drive all the way to Nashville to get that same vibe.
And it's an important distinction because there's bars where they happen to play some music.
Correct.
And then there are venues to hear music that happen to have a bar.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you were going for.
Yes.
That's kind of the real...
Music was the thing.
Music
and
was the thing.
Live country
Yeah.
music was the thing.
Yeah.
And not...
You're right. That is nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
that's
it was
very
nowhere.
few places.
And not
Yeah.
square dance, line dance,
Right,
those types of
right.
things.
So,
Like-
so let me ask you guys this. I want to ask a kind of a regional MSA style nerd question.
Hey, it's your podcast. Go ahead and ask.
You know what? That's right.
Don't
I paid
ask.
for these
You don't have to
No,
microphones.
ask me.
JB, you're
have to
you're
ask
actually
me.
not allowed to ask.
We're just here, man.
No nerds.
I don't have to answer though.
Right. You'd been living in St. Louis for a while. You grew up outside of between Jeff City and the Ozarks, Lake of the Ozark. You knew country music. You're here. You know, if you're living here, you know that there's still 92.3. There's 93.7. Country music is prevalent on the radio. The stadium tours are, country music artists are still the number one selling artists that tour through this town. All of that is real, right? We have a market that you knew consumed the music on the radio.
Correct.
You knew that the stadium filled out, Busch Stadium, 3 days for Kenny Chesney or whatever, right? Did it surprise you as you're going through this process, like, how in the fuck are we first to market here? Like,
pretty wild.
did you ask yourself, wait a second, if it's a really, really good idea, how come nobody else had it in a market that appears to support country music?
In real and not Disneyland.
Did
country
that
music.
ever come across the kitchen table as you guys are sussing this thing out?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we were a combination of extremely confident in the experience that we had. Like I said before, like there was nobody else in this town that had that experience to be able to pick up and put down here. That was a big draw. And I think you're probably giving us too much credit for how much research we did on the bigger stage. I think our research was really very basic in the sense of if you identify St. Louis on a map and you draw a 4-hour circle around it, it's all country.
Yep.
And we're part of that. We grew up in that circle. It doesn't matter which state you hit. You're not going to hit another city until you get to Memphis or Nashville or Indy or Chicago or Kansas City. Everything else, rural. And those folks are just like us. They're everywhere around St. Louis. They're not in St. Louis. And I think, at least for me, when we were talking about different places, we've always loved St. Louis, the city specifically. And part of that is you can't recreate when a city is where it needs to be or can be, when it's firing on all cylinders. You can't recreate that anywhere else. People come to the downtown of every city because that's where shit happens. That's where everything goes and where it should go. And that's what Nashville was. Like, these places are in the core of the city, and everything, it got to a point where just because the honky-tonks existed, they drew the crowds because over decades of focusing on country music, it became what it is. But when we looked at the city, it was like, there's no country music around here. Everybody in 4 hours is a country. If you don't love country music, which a lot of people do based on our very basic research of, oh my God, I love Nashville.
Yeah, always going to
Super-
Nashville.
super scientific.
You at least know country
Yeah.
music. It was very basic, and then you start looking and go, yeah, there's some indicators here that back up what we believe. I would also say that we kind of got lucky in the sense of when we opened the doors and started telling bands we want 4 hours of country music. It took a little while for them to adjust because they weren't able to play country music anywhere.
Right.
They didn't have the sets or the songs or experience. It was a whole thing. There was nowhere to watch it. There was nowhere to play it. And we filled both those voids. So now we have bands that'll play, we're open Friday and Saturday, 4 days a week, but Friday and Saturday we have bands. Thursday and Sunday we have acoustic. And we fill up a schedule nonstop of bands locally and some that travel in, whether that's Nashville or Kansas City or Chicago or wherever, and fill our schedule up.
So let's talk about the year one, along the lines of what you're talking about booking. Because having been a venue owner where you're trying to keep music on a mic, specifically quality music on a mic that is predictable and entertaining, you just pointed out that, a 4-hour set, that's a long set.
Yeah.
And you're also kind of the implied request is not your songs.
That's right.
Right?
That's
It's going to be covered. It's going to be country.
That's right.
Where did you go? How did you find bands? Because given that you were first to market, there probably wasn't a lot of bands in market that were used to doing it.
You're right.
Because there were no bars.
You're right. I don't remember the initial research. It lasted about, the hardest part was from the date we signed the lease, which was July 1st, to when we opened, which was like 4 months later. The hardest part was to explain to people what we were doing without anything to show them and have them believe us that we needed to book bands. And as you know, in booking, you can't just do it for next week. You schedule that shit out. So for them to be available, for them to trust what you're doing when you don't even know what you're doing
You
yet.
got no pictures.
Right.
You got no
I got
proof
nothing
of
to
concept.
show you. You just have to believe me. Here's what we're doing. And I'd probably be a fun exercise to go back and look at some of the emails, sourcing emails, just to sell what we were doing.
Jedi mind trick.
Yeah. But
you will enjoy playing here.
but it was it was just research. I mean, it was just like where can we find some country, and then
name a name. Like who early on, like would you say is kind of like an OG band that helped kind of grind through the intro days?
We've had, I don't even feel like it was a grind, JB, to be honest with you. After about 6 months of being open, I didn't have to look for any bands. And I think it was another testament of you're filling a void. Bands that want to do this have no place to do it, whether they're local or whether they're traveling, whether they're on tour or whether they're grinding on Broadway in Nashville and want to get out and hit a little leg of a tour. They can't stop in St. Louis, but they have to drive through it. It's an 8-hour drive to, Omaha. But if you can stop halfway through and play a place, that'd be awesome.
Sweet.
I didn't have to look for bands. So I don't remember the grind as much, really.
Anthony, we talk about this all the time. Like from what's the intrinsic value, or what are some of the secret sauce ingredients of St. Louis when it comes to a regional valuation? If somebody's not going to move here, if somebody just is living in the Midwest, St. Louis has value because it's in the middle.
Well, I say this ad nauseam.
Passing through.
I say this all the time. Like, even to this day, I haven't lived in Nashville since 2011. And when people know or learn that I lived in Nashville, oh my God, I love Nashville, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the bars that are open down there besides the main ones and the ones you hear about, right?
Yep.
But I don't care who you are. You come up and tell me you went to Nashville, I bet you in 3 guesses I can tell you exactly what you did.
Yeah.
Because it's centered around that. And I've told people all the time, I'm like, I love St. Louis. Anthony's probably for the very same thing from a 50,000 foot view as opposed to on the ground type of thing. However, now I am on the ground. You can be any age. You can be with a family. You can be with your friends. You can find things to do in Nashville that are not go get drunk at the bar
in St. Louis.
Or in St. Louis. That in Nashville, I went down there and we went to the bars and got drunk.
It's a bachelorette party theme park.
And it's like and you can get anywhere in St. Louis within 15 to 20 minutes that you need to go.
Yeah.
And people just don't realize that. Yeah. And they don't give St. Louis the amount of credit that St. Louis deserves. And I don't have to tell you all are pounding the pounding the pavement on this kind of stuff, trying
But
to open
whoever's
people's
No, but
listening.
you're right. It's crazy. Why are they doing it down in Nashville?
I mean, the
Why
weather's
go?
not that much better.
No, it's
I mean,
very similar.
seriously, it's
Yeah.
not, and it's really
Yeah.
expensive to do
Yeah.
anything. You know,
Yeah.
and so it's like,
Oh my
Bill,
God.
Bill McClellan wrote an amazing article years ago that there's family stuff, awesome stuff to do here, but St. Louis, like, why are bachelor parties all going to Las Vegas? And he's like, if you want to be bad,
Sauget, baby.
yeah, he's like, if you want to drink or you want to see a show,
I'll do you one better. Washington
and he's
Park.
Like, he's like, but there are, you want to do the family thing, you want to do you want to do the food thing, you want to do the music thing, and then you're not sitting in a cluster that you are in Nashville now. So
and I think St. Louis now has that, I guess for lack of a better term, like that homegrown type of feel to a lot of things. It's not as
Right.
commercialized as what
Yeah.
Nashville has become.
Yeah.
And nothing
we're
against
not ruined yet.
nothing
Yeah.
against that. I mean, it's clearly a business model that works. Otherwise, people wouldn't be doing it. And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions of people going down there. So they're doing something right. But that's still just what you're missing is in your own backyard, you have all of these wonderful amenities and the food scenes and things like that. Like
Yeah.
you
Amen.
cannot,
Yeah.
in my opinion, you can't compare the two.
Let me ask you a question. What year did you open?
We opened in 2018, the first week of November in 2018.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
17.
17. See?
End of 17.
Time flies when
No,
you're having fun.
I knew it was close because I opened Gaslight in 15, started rolling, and then I saw
I think you found us in early 18,
yeah.
spring.
Yeah, and
time.
I saw the post. I'm like, what the fuck? Now this is interesting.
Yeah.
Came
and you
down.
Had, and you had you mentioned you had your ear to the ground of the radio and concert type stuff where I think from our standpoint, it was not as important to an extent because we needed boots on the ground, literal boots on the ground in the honky tonk.
Yeah.
That stuff was secondary. Like that stuff's gonna take care of itself. But there was some insulation there.
Well-
but you were very in tune with that when we first spoke, when you reached out. Like I remember you.
Well, I was
identifying
excited.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. When I came in and introduced myself, like I immediately wanted to. I don't know what it was going to look like,
Yeah.
but I wanted to do something
Yeah.
with you guys because
Right.
I'm like, okay, look, what I just did, nobody's done,
Yeah.
right? The open studio, we're exposing the process, like it's an experiential thing.
Yeah.
And at the same time, here's this, like, frankly, super traditional model, right? A honky tonk that we all know is just killing it in Nashville and, a handful of other places could pull it off. And I'm like, it's not here. So that was new too. Here's my question. You open in 17. At what point do you feel like, because right across the street is the back door of Broadway Oyster Bar.
Yeah.
One of the most, if not the most successful kind of music.
Iconic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, locally, yeah.
When did you start to think like this was a good idea? Or are you still waiting for that moment?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I don't.
Can I get
I'm
back
like,
to you?
what did I do with my life?
Can I get back to you?
We've all got those.
Are we
days,
going to come
right?
back in? We'll
How
be
can I
back
go
in a year.
in time
There
and
could be a
shake
little
that
bit of
kid
crazy that,
before I started a business.
yeah, a little bit of are we stupid for doing all this? And
Who
people have
says
their
it
own
ever
answers.
comes? Like,
But
Well, let me frame the question. Let me give it a little bit of like T-ball here. Because once I learned about it, I came down, I saw what was going on a couple Friday nights, Saturday night, bringing some friends. I remember one night I came in here with some other engineers and producers and music people, and they were not country music people, and they were like, fuck yeah.
yeah,
So the crowds were real, the vibe was real.
it really just at some point, when you believe it, we wouldn't have opened it if we didn't believe that it could be what it was. But I think even at the early stages when you're just like, we're growing this thing, we just need people to know about it.
Yeah.
We need more people in the door. I know we always focused on what the experience was of the customer. what their feedback. I mean, in a honky tonk, it's pretty easy. You can just scan the room with your eyes and see, are people smiling and laughing, or are they miserable? If they're miserable, they're probably by themselves. They're looking to get out of there pretty quick, and there weren't very many of those. So it was always about, it doesn't matter how many people are in here as long as that experience, if they're enjoying that experience. So that came pretty quick, honestly, because you have to think the risk of opening a honky tonk in downtown St. Louis is maybe foolish. The payoff being 3 blocks from Busch Stadium, 4 blocks from the Arch, between here and Soulard, it's prime location. And one of the reasons we identified it was, if you look around the stadium, it's the only part that wasn't developed or spoken for.
Right.
Yep.
It was yes, it's 3 blocks away. It's not right outside
And
the
that's
door.
not Lego
But
Land.
it's only 3 blocks away.
Isn't that
Come on.
like sad
You can see the
/
damn lights.
ironic /
You hear the fireworks if and when the Cardinals hit home run.
if and when.
But so I think the feedback was,
Patios right around the corner.
Yeah.
The other one. Yeah.
the feedback was pretty immediate. I mean, you get the response. We're hands on. We're there. We're still there. We love what it is that we created because it galvanizes a community around country music. And it's just, there was never a time necessarily. It was just keep your head down, keep booking music, keep refining what it is that we're offering, and you continue to see people show up and have that smile on their face.
How much is
you
it
know?
to see a show when you walk in the door?
0.
We don't charge
See,
a cover.
so once
Never
more,
have.
everybody, that's
Never have.
another thing
Yeah.
that
Don't say the word.
I'm not going to
Don't say the word.
I wasn't going to say that at all. I was just going to say
There's a value prop.
Where is that left?
That's right.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been with somebody from around the country or around the world, and they look at me. We're somewhere. There's music on stage, and they look at me and go, "This would have been $60, Anthony, at home, like
Right.
in New York or wherever I'm coming from, just to sit in front of musicians like this."
Yeah.
And he goes, "I don't remember." He's like, "Did you give the guy $5? Did you, how is this possible? How is this still happening
Yeah.
in the country?"
Yeah.
And the quality for that also is just, so not only is the quality there, but the access is there, the time it took to get there is there, and then you're in, a venue like this that's still real, that still has it. And I don't know. I don't know that St. Louisans always know how rare, absolutely rare this still is.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about clientele. 3 blocks from the ballpark. I mean, there's the obvious relationship between crowds and games that's been probably a little frustrating lately, given the quality of the team the last few years. And, look, this is a Major League Baseball problem. Attendance is down, right? But can you maybe speak to who you're seeing? Who are the regulars? Are they city folk that are just Ubering around the corner? Are they,
Southern Illinois.
Are there too many
Yeah.
McCulloughs coming across from Granite, right? That crew? Is it, Warrenton coming in with a party bus? Who's coming in?
We luckily have a good mix, not only age. We had this conversation the other night. You can see 22, 25-year-olds to 65-year-olds, and everyone's having a great time, and they could be from Illinois, from the city right here. We have a lot of regulars because we've also carved out a space as a regular bar.
Yeah.
That people that, frankly, it's just the energy. They're not paying attention to what's on stage. They might be on the bar side if you're familiar with the room. That they're not there for that. They're there for all
So
the
they
people.
wanna just come
They're there
drink.
for the vibe.
So-
And I, from the start, I remember thinking,
So it's also Cheers.
God
for some
bless
people.
those people that sit on the other side of the fucking wall
Yeah.
because we put all our effort into this band and they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And they're still sitting here.
Yeah.
They're buying drinks
And
and they're having a
paying the
great
bills.
time.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Thank God you do that. And that still is the case.
That's
I'm
kinda me.
amazed by people that come in with, from where we started and what you try to create and how much you put into the music aspect of it for people to take it and find value in something else
Yep.
that was not intended is phenomenal. Whether that's the staff, the old wall, the old building, the 125-year-old building,
Or the merch.
the bartenders, the merch, the beers, whatever.
It's a vibe, as the kids say. Yeah.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
And but you talk to
it
people.
really is.
We get folks. We get a combination of locals, but we also, because we're downtown, get people from out of town. And I personally love that for event. I know we haven't really spoken about the garage, but our event space here, same thing. People that don't live in this city love these venues.
Yeah.
Because part of what you said, Anthony, about, God, where I'm from, I can't get that. We don't have anything like that.
Oh,
or it
getting
would
a
cost
room like
X
this
amount.
would be
You can't find it.
$50,000.
These folks that don't live in St. Louis take it at face value and go, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
They appreciate
The
it.
vibe is awesome. And frankly, in this city, people that live here, that's where the perception circle, kind of fence is, where it's right under their nose and they're not willing or comfortable
Yeah.
or whatever to.
I love that, because that for me, this is the part of the conversation that I've been dying to chomp on. Is this transition? You teed it up perfectly, because here, sitting in this room, we talk about it. We've seen it as St. Louisans. It's that it was that vacant garage that had all of the graffiti on it, etc. You guys came in, you did the work. There's bar, bathrooms, everything staged, etc. But you kept the majority of the graffiti that was in. There's some overlay, but here's where I'm going with this, and this is going to be a more wonky, cerebral conversation for a second, if you'll indulge me. St. Louis, those that try to define us, whether they are writers or, quote, tastemakers or trendsetters or whatever.
Influencers. Politicians.
Or nonprofits.
Yes.
They all want to like define St. Louis in this really kind of through this traditional lens of Rivertown and urban, and it's got, from a musical standpoint, it's always
They're always looking for the hook.
blues and jazz and
It's
all
lazy.
This. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's like this thing. Like, how many times can we really talk about Miles Davis? No offense to Miles Davis, I love Miles Davis. I have Miles Davis records, but that's not what kind of defines us anymore. That's our history.
Yep.
Right? You guys have leaned
We
into...
had a World's Fair here in 1904.
Yeah. Oh, I heard.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Okay, just checking.
You guys leaned into a genre. You opened a honky tonk at a time in which honky tonks are a Nashville thing, right? Mm-hmm. You're doing well. I mean, there's a huge fan base, and I think about this room, because this room, like, if you take the average tourist, and if I were to blindfold them from Lambert, bring them into the city, open them up in the middle of this room, they're going to look around. They're going to be like, "Oh my God, I don't want to hear rap." You know,
Right.
or maybe I want to hear rap, right? But it's a country-driven venue. Can you speak to your relationship with the city, or maybe even just your opinion of your relationship with the city, and the vibe that you're leading with? Country music, more of a rural culture and welcoming, as opposed to the stereotypical description of St. Louis as it being this urban roots fusion music town.
Right. That's pretty complex, but
I can give
I told you it would be a little wonky.
yeah,
but
no, that's good.
I can give it my
do you think we overthink it? Maybe.
I don't know if we overthink it. Coming from such a small town like we did, and having very limited options for multiple things, entertainment, basic needs of different things. You had to drive to go do anything fun, which is why you hung out on gravel roads and things like that. But when you ask about like us in particular, I feel like our love and appreciation for the city and willingness to put country music, something that is very prominent and popular from the area where we're from, to feature it in some place like this, I think it, having everything so close, opens some folks' eyes that are from like places to be like, that could, I don't want to say like stop a stigma of what a city is, but it could at least change my mind on what I thought it was, because it gives me a reason to actually go there.
Yeah.
Where before I wouldn't make the trip to the city, because why? And you're starting to see that, like, everybody's got their own reasons for why or why not they want to go to a city. Or
Well, I mean,
whether
let's
they
call a
want to be
spade a
home.
spade. St. Louis has a knock. St.
Yeah.
Louis from the coasts or from a lot of cities. I mean, you hear it all day, every day,
All
right?
day, every day.
This is I don't know about that. It's a declining city. It's a dangerous city. It's a violent city. Blah 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 blah. It's got this like urban stigma to
They're
it.
afraid. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And look, let's call spade even another layer of spade. Look, it's color. It's a racist perception from a lot of individuals that look at this town from afar, and they're like, that doesn't fit. And you guys knew the market. You knew what you loved. You came in. You've integrated into the neighborhood, etc. And your story is one of those stories that just it adds on to the culture, the history.
I probably would I would probably define it as like it's the opposite of what you would expect.
Yeah.
And that's
so would
what
I.
gets
Well
gets
said.
people like
Yeah.
somewhat intrigued and also reluctant to really grab onto it, because if you want to believe that St. Louis is about the blues, nobody fucking listens to blues music. Nobody's playing it. There's no new blues out there. No one's thumping it, in their car. Thump's an old word. My bad. Nobody's listening to this
I
shit,
understood
right?
you, kid.
Love it.
But
I'm with
everyone
you
wants
too.
to say, and that's why I was saying earlier, it's like lazy. No, we have to be the blues, even though there's no semblance of the blues happening in real time in this city. And so when we bring country music, it's almost like, well, we're open to a lot of stuff. But that came from the wrong direction. We weren't expecting rural to come to the city.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, it's our customers as well. Like, they took them a while. Like, is this
how often
what we want or what we need? Or
how
do I like
often
this?
does a tourist? I'm not talking about the person from Wentzville
Yeah.
or anybody that's coming over with Chris.
Yeah.
Like when somebody, because the night that we were in here when Keller did the Neon Nights, right?
yeah.
There was a couple that was in from I believe
They were-
Utah or
No, they were in from
Idaho.
yes,
Yes,
Idaho,
Idaho.
Boise.
They were in Idaho. Yeah, they're flying.
When somebody from
They came 3 days in a row.
from a faraway land.
That's so cool.
They came 3 days in a row.
Yeah, that's so perfect.
They did. It was awesome. Bought T-shirts.
When an
Doesn't
individual or a
surprise
couple
me at all.
or a group comes in from faraway land that has this maybe preconceived notion, maybe they're in town for a baseball game, maybe they're in town for a conference,
Yeah.
and they come and they find Honky Tonk, and they're here after a couple of hours, and maybe they meet one of you guys. What do you hear? What's the typical response from somebody that is new to St. Louis
What do you
when
hear?
they see it?
I think by and large they enjoy it, and I think what really sticks out is when I have those conversations with those people, it has nothing to do with the stuff that you typically have to answer about, crime and what the city, what all the buildings that are run down, and they just look at what I'm staring at.
You
right
mean they're
now.
not
Space
asking
value.
about
It's-
AT&T building
Yeah.
occupancy?
What about those millennial homes?
I hear, wow, I didn't know there were trees in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was running water. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Where are the outhouses?
I
You have
hear it
red
all.
wine?
We see and hear it all. So
Yeah.
it is always interesting.
Yeah.
But that definitely I had no idea this existed is
And-
amazing.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting they always seem to have something from where they are from, where they have come from, that reminds them, or the honky tonk reminds them of a place.
Something back home.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It just reminds you. It's
little-
nowhere. It's nowhere near the closest, but it's the closest that they have
Yeah.
in their mind.
Yeah.
hell, when you may go there and that might be John's corner bar, you know, who knows, you know, but it's the vibe. It's the, you know, when he was talking about, you know, the blues and the popularity of the blues and the lack of country music is the white man's blues. I mean, that's, it's the same. If you listen,
who stole from who?
Yeah, you know, I mean,
and people always they always talk about St. Louis as we're always looking at, well, how do we get people to come from New York and San Francisco and L.A. and Dallas, but the other major tourist and person relocating here are from rural and small towns all around this 4-hour market, and they too totally surprised on the other end of the spectrum. So, you know, they have their vision of St. Louis. The New Yorker, if they even know St. Louis exists, has their perception or misconception, if you will. And then you're really seeing that come together.
Which is kind of like, you know, where I was trying to go with what I was saying. Like, I come from a small town. We come from a very small town. I cannot see myself going back to a place like that because I really do enjoy going to the grocery store and coming home before my ice cream melts.
So you have a little bit of the small town element,
you know,
with but in a city.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So when
a slice of that,
when folks come up and you know,
have to totally disavow the small town village, you know,
correct.
You can take that piece with you.
Yeah, it's
but
unexpected.
then you can enjoy the amenities.
Yeah, you
of
can
a
still
larger
be
market.
that same person.
Yeah.
But just like you said, you hit it right on the head.
See, that's so cool. Yeah.
You know.
So let's.
I don't know how to say that hook in a tagline, but
we'll figure that
out.
Let's have a little fun here before we wrap it up, because you guys live in a pop culture landscape. You know, you were grunge fans as kids. You now own a honky tonk. What are you listening to? Like when you're not at honky tonk, you wake up in the morning, whatever time you wake up. I'm sure you probably wake up a little bit earlier than this guy. You know, you throw your AirPods in. What are you listening to?
Or is it like is it like the chef who goes home and makes dino nuggets? And,
I was gonna say, are you listening to Miles Davis?
That's why I didn't comment on your. No, I actually, if I'm not listening to a podcast, I listen to all country music.
Do you really?
Always.
Wow.
Mostly because...
Is it homework or entertainment?
Both. It's my obligation to do that. That I think that's part of... If I don't know what people that we're hiring, bands that we're hiring to play, if I don't know what they're playing or should be playing or could be playing, and I'm not in tune with what our customers are hearing out there, the stadiums they're filling up, the venues they're filling up to go pay money, if I don't know that, then I'm failing, and I feel like that's my obligation. Once you do that, you start. I dove in head first 8 years ago. Like you can find value in country music, and it's just about identifying and really getting into what it's all about. You can also find shit that you don't need to listen to and it's not good. And I've found both, but there is a lot, especially nowadays, there's so many ways for people to get out there with their music. There's tons. There's new, there's older stuff. I'm immersed in country.
So let me ask both of you guys then, country music, because country music is one of those things. I mean, there's a million different camps. There's Nashville country, there's West Texas, there's the Plains, there's Canadian country. And there's a lot of Canadian country artists, right?
Yeah.
What are you guys listening to, JB? Are you just like, man, you listen to the music, you're booking?
Oh, I listen to silence.
I
listen to silence or just
it's like where do you go out to dinner now? Doing what you do, I'm like I go home.
If you were to listen to somebody though, you'd listen to. We're big Jason Isbell fans, which is again on that songwriter, storyteller, southern feel.
So probably some variation.
There's that, but Eric Church resonates.
What about some of the young pups like the Wyatt Floreses of the world?
I always gravitate towards songwriting, and that can go a lot of directions because there's different ways to write songs. Some are straight storytellers, and some are formulaic.
Red Solo Cup,
which is all, and some of it's shit. But there are a lot of. I tell people this. My belief is there are a lot of songwriters there is a process, but it's almost like if you're told this is the process to write, and you are perfect at doing that's going to end up in really good music.
Yep.
If you follow this process and you're not good at it, it's going to land flat. And then you can just go do this and just write songs. Like, well, Stapleton does a little bit of both. He's very authentic, but he has been doing it for so long. But Tyler Childers, let's take him for instance. That dude doesn't have a formula. He doesn't follow a formula. Hardy and Ernest and Morgan Wallen and all the people that write for him, those dudes follow a formula and are spectacular at it, you know. And there's
It's
a lot
like
of new women that
R&B
come
work.
up. Lainey Wilson, Ella Langley, love her. You can tell that there is a craft that is country music and always has been from the 90s, and it's just always been there, and people that are really good at it. And that's, I believe, Keller would know more about this, your son, but those writing rooms and the co-writes when you got 3 or 4 people, what they're doing really is they're fine-tuning that process and saying, let's try to take the best of every piece of this and try to be perfect with what this songwriting, what they say it should be, right? What this formula is, let's be the best that we can. We need all of our heads together to make this happen.
You know what's really funny about that process is, and I'm going to actually reference my brother Dana, you know, as a songwriter that he was.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned Keller. Here's the thing, and I think you probably have seen it in the artists that have came through and some of the artists that you follow. Yeah. It's one thing to write a hook. It's another thing to be able to sing a hook, right? And it's all good. But to your point, storytelling is about a story, a lived experience. And the problem with a lot of country music, especially with younger country music, is the simple reality, as all of us at this table can agree, you haven't lived yet.
You don't have the story.
Yeah. You don't have the stories. Yeah. You don't have the ex-wife. You don't have the debt. You don't have the fucking double, triple hot bypass.
Right.
And all that comes later. And I think that's the thing, like country music. A lot of the songs, David Frizzell, which is Lefty Frizzell from Long Black Veil fame, met him one time, and long story short, he basically said, JB, here's the secret of music. He goes, a good song is a good song. He goes, if it's a good song, it doesn't matter whether Prince does it, my brother does it, or whoever.
Right.
It's a great
It's all
song
song,
because
yeah.
you believe the story.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's the one thing about country music, and and the artists that you guys bring in here and the songs that they play. I think that's why people like it. It's not that the guitars have special strings; they're all 6 strings, right? The drums are the drums and everything else. It's that they can sing along and they can feel part of a
It's relatable.
something,
Well, and I think maybe somewhat to what you were saying, the popularity of like a Zach Top right now, who
Oh my God,
who
brilliant.
He has a sound of music that they grew up to.
Yes.
He sounds like, who is Alan Jackson
Yeah.
or something, like whatever that, like when we were growing up, that's who was popular.
Yeah.
So the people that are gravitating towards him are clearly going to be people in the age range of mid 30s to mid 50s or whatever that are going to be like, I appreciate what this person does because of that very sound. He's not necessarily talking about experiences that he's experienced and writing songs about that, but he has a sound of somebody that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right about you haven't lived, I find it hard. I don't listen to a lot of pop music because I don't need a 16-year-old tell me about a girl. You know what I mean? Like, or a guy, or your first love.
Yeah.
You're going to have a few of those, trust me, you're going to strike out a lot more.
Was it Fiona Apple? What was the song when she was
Oh my
singing
God,
about
yeah,
the
I know
breakups, and everyone was like, when was this breakup?
Well,
Middle school?
it's so funny, man. Right
Who
on.
are you singing to?
Right on cue. I'm going to roll us out here with this is a Josh Kaiser song. He's actually not from St. Louis, but we recorded this, in the studio, and it's When the Whiskey Wins. And I remember the first time Keller was probably 15 when he heard it, and immediately learned it. And he starts playing the song and singing it, and I'm looking at him like, when the whiskey wins, really, kid.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, hey, this has been awesome.
Some people have been here before, you know.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
That's right. That's
I
right.
believe in that.
Yeah, I looked at him like, how'd you know?
This kid has been here before.
JB and Ryan, Honky Tonk down here on 7th Street, man. This has been awesome. I really appreciate
Thank
you
you.
taking the time, sit down, and I love everything you're doing, man. I'm a huge fan, always have been. I hope this brings more people in because country music, you know, and we've talked about this. It is the largest genre in the country today,
Yeah.
hands down. It doesn't, you know, you fight me, people.
Yeah,
I'm
and
telling you,
it's
that's the
growing.
case.
It's way more mainstream than it ever has
Yeah.
been.
You got
and it's-
pop people that are making country music albums for a reason.
Yeah.
And they are awful.
Yeah. Downtown St. Louis and country music.
But in saying that, I would like to say thank you for what both of you do, and you're
Oh man,
not just with this, but with everything that you try. You know, Anthony trying to showcase the city, and JB using everything you can to help out people that are doing some of the same things you used to do, and using your voices and your platforms to say, let's draw more attention. Because, I mean, we opened the Honky Tonk not to be the busiest bar in the history of the world. We opened the Honky Tonk for another reason for people to come down and enjoy St. Louis.
community,
And
culture.
we've never left we haven't left the area that we've left or that we opened because we love St. Louis and we want St. Louis to succeed. Because if St. Louis succeeds, all of us are going to.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and you all do a very spectacular job of showcasing people like us and helping bring the attention to
I
it.
couldn't
So-
do my job without.
Well,
yeah.
So,
Dude, I
thank you.
love it, man.
So-
I'm gonna tear up. You guys want to do a
No.
shot and a beer?
Yeah, let's go do a shot number.
Yeah, turn the camera off though.
I
Yeah.
love it, man.
Buddy.
Hey, go check these guys out. Follow them on Instagram for sure. I'll put the links in the show notes. Come down here at South 7th Street. Check it out.
Fourth.
Put
South 4th.
Fourth.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's a little
It's choppy.
It's a little tricky up
you
there.
figure it out. Just
Yeah.
put it in Google
South
Maps,
Fourth.
right?
South 4th.
The interwebs will
Anthony,
get you here.
Anthony, well done.
And thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Everybody
you.
have a
Well
good
done,
weekend.
sir.
We're out of here. Josh Kaiser, like, review, follow, share. B-Side STL. Thanks for listening.
Great show. Have a good one.